another Pac-12 game. Anything can happen. So that's kind of what we anticipate this week. We play a tough opponent in Utah. They haven't lost any conference games in the South. They're kind of sitting like we're sitting right now. And very physical football team in all three phases of football, very well coached. There's a blend of young, talented players there, on both sides. They have some really good running backs, big, powerful guys. I think the quarterback has given them a spark. He does a nice job of running with the ball at times, throwing the ball down the field. Their defense is very stingy with points. They've always been really good defensively. They play good in the red zone, good on third down. Tough place to play. Really tough place to play. They have a nice fan base. We anticipate it'll be loud, and we'll make sure that we work on that this week as we have worked on it since we left BYU. So hopefully it'll help us when we go up there.
Hi, Herm. Howard Rubino, Devil's Digest. I know you wanted strong starts from the offense, and that definitely happened against Stanford, but scoring the last touchdown early in the second quarter, looks like the offense stalled the rest of that half, second half. What did you see on film?
Well, I saw some things that we got in our own way as far as went backwards a couple times. Didn't have a lot of fouls. I mean, the fouls ended up actually the last series, right? But just thought we missed some opportunities. And you know, Stanford's a good football team. I mean, we said that. We said they play methodical. They keep the game, you know, in reach. And that's kind of how it unfolded for us. I think our defense did a really good job of not allowing them to score points. And taking the ball away, I think, was big for us. When you take the ball away that many times and you can run the football, that gives you a chance. And we just hung in there and were able to score enough. But we left some stuff on the field. We missed a field goal. We went for 4th and 1 on the 19, I believe, and didn't make it. A great job by the Stanford defense. But you know, you look at those two situations, and all of a sudden maybe you score some more points, right? But I think anytime you can win a game, a Pac-12 game, whether it's on the road or at home, it's a good thing because it's very difficult to win in this conference. And I think the more we look at it, the more we realize that could be a true statement.
Hey, Coach, Jack Loader, House of Sparky. It wasn't a rivalry game for your guys this past weekend, but it was a rivalry game for you as a former Cal Bear. Is it still a little personal beating Stanford?
Well,
and if so, what's your favorite big game memory from back in the day?
I actually played in 2, and I'm 2-0 of the big games, and I actually got interceptions in both of them. That's what I remember. Remember, my first one was a freshman and playing against Stanford, and I was playing safety then at Cal. And I got an interception. I was excited. And then my next time I was my junior year up there. And I want to say Tony Hill was one of the receivers. And I was fortunate enough to get an interception against him. But it is a rivalry, that big game. It's quite unique, like ours here. Obviously against Arizona. You know, it's now this one's probably been going longer, but same deal. It's a lot of fun playing in them rivalry games in college football because it goes back from generation to generation to generation. So, a lot of fun.
Herm, when you can go into a game each week and know that you can run the football, what kind of confidence does that give you guys, knowing that, you know, no matter who you play, what kind of defense you go up against, that you're going to be able to run the ball?
Well, we're hopeful. we're hopeful that we can run it. We know when we go over 200. I think our record is 11-1 or something like that. But that doesn't mean you're always going to run it. You know, I mean, people try to stop us from running. It's a collective effort by our offensive line, starts with our offensive line, the offensive line coach, as well as Zach, trying to put in a good plan. And then being patient with the run. I think sometimes when you run the ball, you know, running's not like passing. I've always said, you know, you can go back and throw a ball and it goes down the field 20 yards, you complete it, and everybody's excited. Sometimes a 2-yard run, it's like, I don't want to make 2 yards, right? It's like, right? And a lot of times people give up on it. I think what we've been able to do is we don't give up on it. We just continue to try to run, and eventually, if you do that, it's going to pay dividends for you. That's just my history with it, being a former player in the league, and then coaching in the league, you realize that. And I just think that the more you stick to it, it'll pay dividends for you, and thus far this year it has.
Michelle Gardner, Arizona Republic. Coach, obviously Utah's playing on a lot of emotion this week. It's a pretty different week for them. What is your perception on whether that kind of emotion can work for you or against you?
Well, I think when you collectively, I can't speak for them. I can't speak for the team, their situation. I know I've been in some situations like this as a former player with teammates, and I think that it brings a different side to it for everyone. You can reflect. I think it brings a lot of reflection as you personally as well as a team, and I think they've done a great job of really handling this, because it's kind of been now hopefully they're going to get some closure to it, but Coach has done a really good job of really being the voice of speaking to young men, and that's important when you get in situations like this. And I think they've handled it well, and we're all praying for them. There's no doubt about that. And we'll just see how it manifests. But they've done a really good job, I think, of dealing with a lot of things when you're talking about something like this.
Coach, Jordan Ham, Sports 360 AZ. You guys haven't been shy about using the jet sweep, but with Elijah Badger specifically, what new wrinkle does he bring in the run game when he can get the ball in his hands that way?
He's talented as far as when the ball's in his hand, when he can run with it now. Obviously, he hadn't been in position in the middle of the field to catch it and do that. We've been fortunate 2 times. He's 2 for 2. I mean, that's a pretty good batting number, average anyway, 2 for 2. But he's talented. There's no doubt. As I said before, he reminds me a lot of Brandon with the ball in his hand. IU, when he had the ball in his hand, he could make people miss. And I think when you have a receiver like that, you want to get him the ball. And we got to find a way to get him the ball a little bit more in the passing game. But again, it's hard, because when I look back at that game, we ran it for almost 44 times or something like that. And it was one of those games. And we're not saying we don't want to pass, because we have a really good quarterback. And we feel like we have some really good receivers, and the tight end position is playing well. Hodges is playing he's playing as good as he could have ever played here, and it's just hard to spread it around sometimes. And I always say you got to get more plays. You get more plays. When you get more plays, you get more opportunities. And sometimes we've hit some big plays, and so we don't get as many opportunities, right? So we'll just see where it's at.
Chris Carbon, Sun Devil Source. Just curious if there's any update on some of your injured guys, Michael Matus, Evan Fields, Chase Lucas.
The update is that we're hopeful that they will return. And, they're getting treatment. They felt good yesterday, but we'll just see where it's at come game time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach. I think when we look to the plays, we look at that the Jack Jones, DeAndre Pierce pick, maybe Jaden's touchdown run. Were there any plays that you think went under the radar that had a big impact on the game?
Impact plays. I think that at the 5-minute mark, was big. Toward the end of the game, because the game's still kind of, for me, it's never, but I thought our ability to take the ball and just close the game out. I mean, that's what you want to be able to do. When you get the ball in that situation, don't allow the opponent to get it back. It's called hammer time. When you got to end the game now. And the offense has the ball, and you don't want to punt, you don't want to kick, you just want to end the game. And to me, that's always good to see when you can do that. And I thought our offense did a pretty good job of that, to be quite honest. Like, the previous week when we stopped them on the 1, UCLA, we went on a 99-yard drive. This was, to me, we had the ball at the end. We get the big interception, and then 5 minutes, and we run the clock out. That's a good sign.
Herm Nick King from 3TV CBS 5. The way you guys aren't really allowing points in the second half this season, is there anything consistent that goes into that? Are you guys making adjustments? Anything else that's happening?
Well, there's always adjustments made. I mean, that's the key to football. At halftime, that's when all of a sudden the plan is this. What do we have to do going out in the second half to either adjust that plan or add a little something to it? And there's always some things that you hold back, right? And they're going into the second half before you go back in the ball yard. And I think our defense has done a nice job in the second half of closing games out, of not allowing them to score. You know, when you're only giving up, about 16 points, 17 points a game, you got a chance to be in a lot of football games. And I think our defense realizes that. I think what I liked about them last week is they took the ball away. And that's kind of been our mentality since we've been here. Can we take the ball away? And when you can take it away and give it to your offense, you create possessions for your offense. Now, we took one away and took it back. That's always good, right? But I just think when you can take the ball away and keep the score down, you got a chance.
Tyler Johnson won a National Defensive Player of the Week honors.
What did he win?
He won one of the National Defensive Player of the Week honors.
What was the name of that?
The Walter Camp.
The Walter Camp Award. Interesting. Interesting.
And
okay, but anyway, go ahead.
And with Michael Matus out, Anthony Cooper played well, and he has been playing well of late. Can you just talk about maybe what you're getting from that defensive end position?
Coach Rob has done a really nice job. When you think about those guys, we lost two of our better players. Lole has not played. We lost our defensive end as well about 3 weeks ago. And a lot of young freshmen are asked to play, along with some veteran guys. And Coach Rod has done a nice job of coaching that whole group. And the more they play, the more confidence they gain. Tyler needed to play big for us. You know, he's played a lot of football around here. And I told him, I said, you're gonna have a good game. I told him that before he went out there. I said, you got to play good. So we need you to play good. You know, I think in certain games, there's about 5 or 6 players that I'm always going to talk to before the game. I just wait, and I just kind of walk up to them and in a nice way, in a positive way, and say, hey, it's your turn now. You got to go tonight. Not that they don't go all the time, but I just think it's always good for them to know that, okay, your turn now. You got to go. You got to play good. And Tyler did a nice job, really nice job.
Coach Michael Carrasino, believe in Pac-12 football. To piggyback what you're saying off to, obviously, defense, giving up 16 points a game. Not that I ever like to use the word easy in football, but does that make the offensive play calling a little to open it up more, knowing how the defense is playing?
Well, it does, but here again, it's nice to open it up, but when you go 3 plays and you only take a minute off the clock, then the defensive coach comes out of me, right? And that's great, you know, throwing all those passes, but you throw incompletes and you stop the clock and you only take a minute off the clock. Now, if you score and you only take a minute off the clock, that's one thing. But when you don't score, you know, those things can come back and get you. And that's where you have to, for me, I have to balance that. You know, I have to be the head coach, not the defensive coach. And I just think that possessions are important. You want to score with possessions, or you want to change the field with possessions. When you don't take a lot of time off the clock and you don't score, that's not a good offensive possession. It's just not, right? And we had 10 possessions, right? And you knew that going into the game. You weren't going to get more than that, because that's how Stanford plays. And you just watch them play, and it's a low possession game. And every possession is important. And when you don't move the ball, then you create field position for them. If you move the ball and you don't score, we can live with all that. But when you only take a minute and 7 seconds off the clock in a possession, that's a missed opportunity.
Yes, sir. Coach, Prince James Story, Cronkite News. You talk about the emotional aspect of this game, and how has the healing process worked in your locker room going into this game, especially for a player like Brian Thompson, who's going back to Utah and played with both of these players?
Really, emotion plays a big part of college football when you think about it. And you don't want to be emotional. You really don't. You see it every week. Teams get emotional and they put themselves in a bad way. Bad things happen, fouls, turnovers, all those things that lose games. You want to be passionate, but you don't want to be emotional. I've always said that when people get emotional, I kind of back away from them because I just know something about to happen, not good, right? I mean, you can have a conversation with somebody, and all of a sudden, when the levels go up, you go, okay, I better move back a little bit because they're getting emotional now, right? And so the same way with football. It's always been that way. When you get emotional, you turn the emotional switch on. You're headed down the wrong avenue, and there's a fine balance. It's always interesting when players either go home and play, they go to a venue in which they've played at before. Now in college football, no different than in pro football, if you get traded or you go to another team and you play against your former team, how does that all work, right? I have enough experience in that situation to know what to say to that player. And I do that. And I wait to pick my time to say it. Sometimes it's during the week. Sometimes it's before the game. It's just according to who the player is and how I can give him some advice to how to deal with it, because everyone deals with it different. But it's up to me to make sure that they're okay, because that's your job as the head coach, make sure your players are all right, right? And so that'll be dealt with, and he'll be fine. I mean, he'll be fine. He'll be excited about going back up there, and he wants to play good. The way you play good is stay calm. Just stay within your skill level, I always say. Just stay within your skill level, and you'll be fine.
Herm, Sean Lynch from the State Press. You have an interesting group in the secondary room, a lot of veterans, a lot of younger guys. What have you seen from that group in terms of mentoring kind of the younger guys and helping them gain confidence, really?
It's an interesting group. It always has been. A bunch of A personalities in that room now, and it's just they all function different. I think the good part is, as you mentioned, there's some young ones going out there getting some experience, some playing experience. And that always helps you. The more you can actually go play, then you can coach them off tape of what they've done. When they don't play, you can't coach them off tape. You just coach them on practice. Well, it's different when you go in the game. And there's popcorn, and there's people, and there's noise. Practice is just some music, but there's no popcorn and no people watching them, right? They get in the stadium, and now they got the uniform on. It's different. And I think the more they can gain experience and hopefully have some positive things happen to them, they get more confident. So that's the fun thing when you watch all those guys. But you're right, we got a bunch of young ones playing. No doubt about that.
You mentioned the difference between playing with passion and emotion. A lot of times for corners, especially like Jack, and you just touched on this, he has to dance, he has to pump himself up, he has to talk. When you played, how did you, and that helps his confidence, how did you do that?
I talked a little bit to the receiver. You'd never know, but I did. I was just trying to push buttons. I was always one of those button guys. Let me see what I could say or what I could do to make him kind of go, wait, is this guy crazy? Right? But I think between the time you do that and when you get in your stance and it's time to play, then you got to get back to okay, now I got to play football. There's two sides of it. It's before the snap, and then okay, now snap, now I'm back in, and I have the ability to do that. I've always had the ability to do that since I was a young kid in athletics. I told you all before, I was a Muhammad Ali fan. And whatever that guy did, I was like, okay. You know, you're talking about talking, I can talk. But then when it came time to go play, I'm done. Then in between, I could talk some more, and I was done. And some guys can do it, some guys can't. I was always able to do that, to not get to the emotional side of it, to be passionate but not emotional, because I knew eventually if I got emotional, and I have sometimes in my life, it don't work out good. It's a bad outcome. It's just a bad outcome. And generally, it was a bad outcome for the person I was dealing with, too, more than anything else. And then I felt bad because I went there. And I don't like going there. You know, I don't want to. I had to apologize to a coach on the sideline because, you know, I lost my temper situation and I said something. Nothing real bad, but I caught myself. I said, can't do that. Because players see that. I'm the guy that's supposed to be calm, and the players see that. And I apologized to the coach, and then I apologized to the team yesterday. I said, hey, I got a little bit over here, guys. I didn't get emotional, but I almost got there, and I went, hey. Because the sideline is a unique experience when you're an athlete or a coach. There is confrontation and dialogue. And at times, the volume goes up, right? Player comes off the field, doesn't do exactly what he's supposed to do, and the player takes it personal, and the coach takes it personal because you're coaching that guy. And then there's this dialogue that happens. And sometimes it gets going. It's like, whoa, man, this thing's really going, you know. And I always tell the players and the coaches, it can go on for 5, 10 seconds, and then when it's done, it's done. And it stays on the field when the game's over with. We don't bring it back in the locker room. We don't bring it in the meeting rooms. It's over. And I wanted to make sure yesterday, or Sunday, I explained that to the football team. And I told them I had to apologize to the coach on the sideline. Nobody saw it, maybe, but I felt that it was the right thing for me to do because I'm the head coach. It happened to me one time in pro football, too. Yeah. On television, too. It's a bad deal. My mom thought I went crazy. I kind of just snap, man. And I don't want to go there. There's a different guy when I go there, and it ain't pretty. And for the guy, when I go there, you got no shot with me. If I go there, and I don't want to go there. I don't. You know, I grew up that way as a kid. You know, you don't want to go there, man, with me. And I don't want to get there because it's a dark place, and I don't like going there because it never ends up good. So I got to stay away from it.
Coach, Brittany
ma'am.
Boyer, PHNX Sports. So I know that you don't like to dwell a lot on where the team's at after each game and looking forward to the next week. You just want to focus on one game at a time. But at the midway point in the season, how has the team met your expectations that you've had for them, and what more are you looking forward to seeing them bring out in the next 6 to 7 weeks that we haven't seen yet?
Well, I think if you know me by now, it's not about my expectations. It's their team. It's their expectation. This belongs to the players. What do they want to accomplish? And they're sitting in a position to do whatever they want to accomplish right now. And that's always the conversation I have with them. I'm on the journey with them. I can give them a roadmap. They got to drive the car. I've never seen a coach go play. Coach can't play. Coach gets them prepared. He does everything he can to get them ready to play, and then they got to actually play. So it's whatever they want to do. And this group of guys, I know what their mentality is. They want to continue to win a game. And the most important game is the one this week. And I've said that from the beginning, and it never changes with us. It's always the next game. It's never about anything. Don't get ahead of yourself. You don't need to, because you only can play one game every week, and then hopefully, you get a bye, and then you get to relax for a couple minutes or a couple days, and you come back and play another game. That's so unique about it that we're in Pac-12 play, and every game is important. They're all important, and there's not one bigger than the other one, and that's what you guys do. You guys make them, oh, this is an important game. Oh, that's not an important game. Oh, that's one they should win. You know how hard it is to win a game? Yeah, like really hard. It's real hard. And I think sometimes people don't realize that. You don't just walk out there and say, oh, because someone said we're supposed to win, you get the win. You actually got to go do it. There's a lot of things you have to do right to win a football game. And I've been in so many of them and seen so many of them. And it's funny, I was talking, as you guys know, Lynch was here this week, and we had lunch on, this game was Fridays, I guess it was Saturday. And we're both sitting there talking, and we're saying, man, you know how hard it is to win a game? I go, yeah. And we're both laughing. Yeah, he said, yeah, it's really hard. Hard to make a first down. Right? And it's just, I think sometimes we just take it for granted. When you watch teams, you go, well, they should win. Okay. A lot of things got to go right for you to win. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm sorry to be long with it, but it's the truth. That's what it is.
Herm, Zach Hill, he pulls out all these trick plays under his sleeve. What's it like as a defensive guy having to prepare for all those things, and what does it do to players on the field?
Well, it gives you a little bit of anxiety because you're hoping you can kind of figure it out when it might happen. But then you sit there the whole game and you're hollering, hey, trick play. Well, you can't do that, because there's 60 plays. You're just hoping you've done enough of it in practice to keep guys aware of it. There's certain parts of the field you think, well, this could happen, that could happen. That's just football, and, 2nd and 1, everybody in the world knows, hey, they might throw a go route on 2nd and 1 because they're going to come back, or even on the 3rd and 1, right? Because you figure they're already saying they're going for 4th. So there's certain situations in the game where you think, okay, could happen. Anytime you cross the 50, you get into the 40, all bets are off, right? It's like, okay, this is when the stuff comes, right? A lot of stuff comes in the red zone. You see it in pro football, right? In the red zone, ain't no telling what they're going to do. They can run all kind of stuff. They figure, I got a field goal, so now I can maybe do some trickeration and get a touchdown, right? So that's just how the game is played anymore, and you got to understand that. And you got to understand what it looks like. But I don't know where they come up. These guys are copycats on offense. They kind of take a play from somebody else and create another formation and get back to it some other way. You watch Kansas City, Andy and those guys. It's like, wow, they got stuff. You guys, like last night, they did some stuff where 3 guys went under center before they snapped the ball, right? And it's just you watch it and you go. And you wonder why they do it, because the players have fun doing that. And so the coach lets them have fun doing that, right? Because it's their offense, and the players kind of come up with stuff. And you got to be a creative enough coach to say, well, we're going to try that. And me as the head coach, I'm not going to sit there and say, well, no, you can't do that. Just don't mess it up, right? So that's kind of where it's at when you watch football anymore. Didn't used to be that way, but it's that way now.